Let's move to the next one. So this is arithmetical question using Python, just addition, like will give us, 2 plus 5 is 7, 8 divided by 2 is 4, and all that. But we have to store some of our result in a variable so that we can use it the next time. For instance, if I want to use the result of this addition, because I didn't store it in a variable, I have to do it again if I want to add the two numbers. But if I had stored it in a variable, like variable 1 is 2 plus 5, then I can use it in another command by calling the variable name. So to create a variable, you just write the variable name, and then you put equals to assign value to the variables. Yeah, so one of the errors that is very common to face when you're programming is name error, when you call a variable that is not defined. For instance, if I want to add 2 to height is not defined, so I got a name error, and the information is name height is not defined. So rules for Python variables. A variable name must start with a letter or the underscore character. So we have to start it with a letter, basically. And we cannot start with a number. It cannot contain it can only contain alphanumeric characters. We cannot have something like this. Say that variable and put asterisk or and something equals to 2. This is going to be error, invalid syntax. It's because we have used this unacceptable character. So it has to be alphanumeric and underscores. So any other characters we throw an error.
I see. Alphanumeric and underscores.
Exactly.
Okay.
Those three.
Okay.
What I want us to do is I'll make you to test the knowledge with variables using Web3. There's a link that I included in the notebook. So you can click on the link, and you can share your screen so that we can walk through it together if you have any issues on that before we move to the next section.
Is that what we do right now?
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. Are you able to share? I'll stop sharing my screen so you can share yours.
Okay.
Are you able to share your screen?
You have to
participant. Okay. How about that?
Great. Perfect. Okay, great. Create a variable named car name and assign the value Volvo to it. Okay, so car name, that's great. And then Volvo, great. Correct. Oh, this is nice. This is easy.
Yeah.
Create a variable named X, okay, X. Assign a value of 50 to it, oops. Okay. Display the sum of 5 plus 10 using two variables, x and y. Y equals 10. Print x plus, so x equals 5.
Exactly.
Must be x equals 5. X plus. Okay. Awesome. Great. Z, x, displaying the result, z equals x plus y, print z equals print z. Awesome. Oh, remove the illegal character in this. So the illegal character in the variable name. No, okay. Huh. Is 2 an illegal
No, it is
variable?
not. But variable name can only start with a letter. 2 is not an illegal character, but then it cannot begin a variable name.
I see. Oh, interesting. Submit answer.
And then there, remember we say the only allowable character are alphanumeric and underscore. So we have dash also.
So is dash okay or it's not okay?
It is not okay.
So it has to be this.
So you have to remove it. I think you just remove
So
it. Don't change it. Just remove. Yeah.
so remove the underscore as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Oh, interesting. So a name has to start with an alphanumeric
Yeah,
or
exactly.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Letter.
exactly.
Letter.
Yeah,
Sorry.
later. Mhm. Mhm.
Insert the correct keyword to make the variable X belong to the global scope.
Ah, so yeah, I think I missed this content. I didn't, so I would explain that. So variables can be in a local or global namespace. I'll quickly share my screen again.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Share screen. So, can you see?
There we go. Yep.
Okay, so this is the line that I miss. Variables can be in a local or global namespace. So what we mean is that for global variable, the values or the variable is available for use at any time or in any situation, maybe inside a function or outside a function. But for local variables are mostly variables that are created inside a function. So they are only available, they are only valid or available for use while they are still in the function. I'll demonstrate with a code now. Let's say I've created name equals to Nahim. Now, this is a global variable. I can use this in another cell. I can call Nahim in another cell. It will be available. Can call name rather. It will be available. I can call name in a function. Let me say definition print name. I want to print the name. So here, what I'm saying is I just want to print name, right? So I have created a function that takes a global variable. Now, if I call the function print name, we are still going to talk about function later. You'll see it printed Nahim. So this is it printed the name Nahim because name is a global variable. This is a global variable. This is a global variable. Okay, now let's modify our function a bit. Let's say inside the function, we define another variable with the same name as name, but here we call it Jagad. This one, this is a local variable. This is only available, or it's only the namespace is within the function. The moment we go out of the function, the name will not be available. Now, I'll demonstrate what I mean. Now, let me run print Naheem. Now, when I call the function and I ask it to print Naheem, I asked the function to print name. Now, remember, we have name defined in two places, one as Naheem and the second as Gerard. Now, when I call the function print name, which of these names do you think it will print?
Naheem again, because it's global?
No, it is not going to print Naheem.
Oh.
It is going to print Gerard. Why? Because local variables is available within the function, but it takes priority over global variable.
Oh, and I was thinking the opposite, because global seems more available or more important,
So
right?
you will see the difference now. Local variables in a function, it takes priority over global variables if they have the same name. But then the moment we finish running the function or calling the function, local variable is no longer available. Global variable will now be available. Let's see what happens now. Print name.
Oh, interesting.
You see, now it printed Gerard.
Oh,
now let's call name. Now, what do you think it will be printed if I say name?
Now it's Naheem.
Now it's Naheem. You see? So this is the difference. Now, because here we run the function, so the local variable is called, is available. It takes precedence over the global variable. But the moment we finish calling the function, the local variable is no longer available. Then the global variable is still available for use. But what we can do is, if we want to make this function, this variable to be global, right? Instead of making it local variable, this Gerard is local. It's only available within the function. We can append the keyword global. Okay, are you there?
There we go. Now I can hear you.
Okay. So I was saying that if we want to change a variable and make it to be a local variable to a global variable, we just need to put the keyword global before the variable name, and it will make the name to be a global variable instead of making it to be a local variable. So with that information, I think you can attempt the function, the exercise. Does that make sense? I'm not sure. That has to be my network, right?
I think so. I've got high speed here, and I'm the only one on it. So
yeah, it's my internet. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah, so I'll share my screen again.
Okay.
Can you see the VS Code?
Yes.
Okay, so as I was saying, to make a local variable to be global, we have to just append the keyword global. So that is the information you need. Just put global behind a local variable, and it will change it to a global variable. So if you look,
interesting. Okay,
yeah.
So this is a local variable. We made it global.
Exactly.
So all we have to do is change it to global. And so now that it's global, does it take the place of Naheem, or is it?
Exactly. Now that it is global, it's going to take the place of Naheem. It's going to is going to supersede Nahim because it is defined after we define Nahim. Yeah. You can
Got it.
try that. So just say global hex, and then let's see global name, and then name is Gerard. Let's try that. Let's print name Gerard, and then now let's print name here. You see now it's not Gerard. In the function it's Gerard. Calling the name now it's Gerard. Okay, so you can try the last exercise by just adding global. Okay.
And so that overwrites it essentially. It overwrites it in where it's temporarily stored.
Exactly.
Okay. And so this says insert the correct keyword to make the variable X belong to the global scope. So then I would just need to put global is what you were saying, global X. Oh, interesting. Okay. Great.
All right. So we move to the next. Output formatting. So this is in this context, what we want to learn is what are the different approaches we can use to present the result of a code or output some result in a very friendly, human readable format. We have used print in a couple of commands here. Where is that print? So basically print just outputs the values, right, to the user. The output can be formatted in a number of ways. The first one is string modulo. This one is an old approach. I think with Python 3 point something, they are beginning to not support or discourage the use of string modulo, where I'm going to show you the syntax. Then I think the common one now is string format. I think F-string is now the most common. F-string is becoming the most common way to present the output of variables or something. Now let's see some examples. Let's say that I have my name. Name is Nahim. Right. Gender is male. So let's say age is 16. Now I want to print something out that shows all these things in a very interpretable, detailed sentence. My name is Nahim, I'm a male and I'm 16. How do we do this? How do we put the variables and the strings and everything? This is what output formatting really takes care of. The first approach is to use, let me say, I want to use string modulo. So this string modulo, what it does is we're actually going to use print. Excuse me. I'm sorry about that. So we are still going to use print. Then let's go to the next one. String dot format. I just want to present them in the same order so we see where they differ.
That's a good idea.
For this, we are still going to use print. They are using print. They are just formatting the print. And then for F-string, we're still using print. So how do they differ here? let's start with, should we start with the simplest or with the, which one? From the bottom or from here?
Let's start with an F string.
Okay, with F string, what we'll do is we'll just put F, and string is this. So what we want to print is, I'll just put what we want to print here. Print my name is dash dash, and I am a dash 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 old. So here, what we want to do is we want to, make it to be very dynamic. Get the name and put here. Get the gender put here and the age put here. So for string formatting, what we will do is let's just copy this, put it here. So what we will do is anywhere we want to put variables, we will just put curly bracket and the name of the variable. Here is name. Here is what's the variable name here?
Gender.
Gender. Thank you. And this is
age. Curly bracket age. Okay.
Age. Okay. Now let's run this. So you see, my name is Naheem. I am a male, 16 years old. So you see how simple that is. Just put the variable name at the appropriate location or position and put in bracket, and it will just put it there. So, but then you have to put F in before the strings. So that's why they call it F strings. There is have to be F before the strings. Why? Now, how about string formats? Here, this is calling a format method on the string. This is F string. We just put F before the string of stuff we want to show. Here we have the string. And then we will now call a method called format.
Oh, interesting. Dot format?
Yes, dot format. We'll talk about method and all that later. But method is like a function that is binded to a particular object or type. So in this case, the type is the string, which is this stuff that we want to print. Now, what we did here, we put the printing sentence and we put dot format. But then we have to do something similar that we did in F string, which is put the curly bracket in each case or in the appropriate situation or location rather, right? And then now the format will now take the values or the variable name that we want to show the values here. So we will now supply, the first one is name, the second is what?
Gender. I see.
Gender, and the third is
age.
Age.
So we're giving it the order that it needs to insert those. I see.
Exactly the order that it has to insert the values. But we can change the order actually. We can change the order. I'm going to show you how to do it, how we can do that. You see, we get the same thing. But what do you think is the difference between this and these two? I mean, in terms of, if you look at it, what do you think is the difference?
In terms of what?
In terms of the structure, in terms of the elegance of writing, in terms of, what do you think is like, what can you say?
I would say the format is more efficient if you wanted to change things, like you could iterate over that easier.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's true, the dot format, what the possibilities are.
So, the F string, this is very easy to write. If you look at it, you don't need to put any dot format and start supplying. Imagine like we have like um 20 variable names. That means we have dot format and start writing comma, comma. But for the F string, you just put it at the appropriate location. There is no need for additional dot format or stuff like that. It is where you just name it that you put the variable. So this one to me looks like, if you look at the syntax, right, it's even longer, right? It's like spanning more because you have to add this format and then you need to do extra step of bringing the variable to at the end or inside the format when you could easily just put it inside this bracket as the F string is doing. Do you get?
It's a lot less confusing with
It's
the F string.
exactly,
Yeah.
it's very less
Yeah.
confusing. But to go back to your question that it has to be in this order. Yes, normally it has to be in the order. But if you decide that you want to go any order, let's say age, gender, and name. Now, we supply the parameters of format in the wrong order. So what we need to do in that case is that, okay, if we print it like this, we know that we will get the wrong stuff. Now, my name is 16. I am a male, 9 years old. No, right? So what we need to do is that we need to put it here that the first parameter or the name, my name is, we say go and look for the name at the third parameter. So in that case, we're going to put 2 here. Why do we put 2? We are going to
it's the position because the first one's 0.
exactly.
And so 2 is the last one.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Python is zero-based indexing. So
Yeah.
this is 2 and this, and I am a male, that is going to be 1, and then
0.
this is 0. Now if you run this, now the
cool.
order is right. Now you see the issue with string dot format is that it's almost the same thing that you're going to do with F string is what you are doing, because it's almost the same thing syntax. Why? With F string, you have almost the same syntax, but this one is just using dot format, and then you have to now start arranging the values and specifying. Whereas you can just copy this thing. What you just need to do is just copy it and put here. And then add F. If you add F to it to let it know that, no, I'm using F string syntax, then you just put your variable name directly. There's no need to like this is, I am gender, and this is age. So, and you have it. So
F string is much easier.
It's much easier. It's much easier. So the string modulo I feel like I should not touch this to not confuse things, because actually they are not using it again.
They're not using it anymore.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's still not like you could still see like people using it, right? If you like, because some people don't want to change, they know a particular way to use a syntax and they keep using that. I still get like Python codes and I see people using string modulos and all that. So
Mhm.
to do that, this is let me quickly go over it. I'll copy the same thing. Yeah. Like copy with we are still going to use um the string. Now they call it string modulo because it's using modulo and a placeholder. I'm going to write something now. %s %s %d then percentage, the same thing. What's the name?
Gender.
You can see that it's really complicating, right? And
Yeah,
that is
right.
gender.
It's kind of like dot format, but
Yeah, it's
it's even more
exactly
complicated.
more complicated. You get it. And
Mhm.
this is age. I'm not even sure I get it. I get the syntax. It's giving me this. So I think I put the resources. Yeah. Yeah, let's look at. Okay, yeah. Well, Python is a great resource. It discusses the history, right? Old school. You can see even they
Mhm, mhm,
classify
mhm,
the string format as old school. So this is a
mhm.
new way. So the syntax for the string format is, yeah, so there's no percentage. So you just put, I mean, there's no comma. So I don't like using that. It's really
It's
rare.
confusing.
It
Yeah.
is. So you don't need to, but I mean, I'm just showing you so that when you
Oh,
see,
does there need to be a space in between
yeah, there has
the
to be
percentage?
exactly
Okay, okay,
between.
okay.
So these are the placeholders, and it is specifying the data type. Like this is for string, S is for string, and D is for integer. So it is like, okay, the value that is coming here is age, and it is an integer data type. So it's going to give us the same thing, but it's just a bit, it makes coding a bit difficult. Not difficult, but the
Mm,
syntax is just difficult to understand than using
yeah.
the F strings. So we're going to be
And
using,
let me ask you a question though. Why are the first two percentage S and the last one's percentage D?
yeah, so because for this one, we are, this is an integer, right?
Yeah, and so D is integer.
Exactly. D is
Okay.
integer, S is string,
String.
F is
Okay.
for float. So it's like specifying the data
Hmm.
types exactly. So
Which is actually kind of cool practice, but at the same time,
mhm.
unnecessary once you
it
know it. Okay.
it is not necessary to be sincere. It's
Yeah.
not necessary. So yeah,
I
this
see.
is a good resource for um yeah, for the different approaches for formatting outputs. Right.
Mhm.
Okay, let's proceed. Now we want to talk about data types. Um, so the variables that we showed earlier, we can store different data, the different data types. We see how we store name, I mean, I will store Naheem in name variable. I will store age in age variable, but there are different data types, and Python support a lot of data types, and the operations or what we can do with them differs based on their types. So these are list of the data types that Python supports. We have the text type, the string. The type is a string. And to do that, this is a syntax. You just say X is Naheem, and we can print type. So Python provided a type function for getting a type of an object. So if we say print type, so type is the function, is Python inbuilt function. Print type
Python
X.
imbued.
Yeah.
Okay. String. Okay.
So you can see the class is string. Don't worry, hopefully we'll get to this section, object-oriented programming. That is when we talk about what is a class, what is an object, what is an instance, and then it will make all these things, to be clear better. So this is a string. If we put X to be 16, all right, I don't want I'll just type it. Instead of this, we put X to be 16, and then we run the type again. Now the class is int. So the same,
that makes sense,
right? We can change this to a list. Let's say 12, and the class is a list. So there are different data types, and I mentioned the other time that Python is very easy to, the syntax are easier than the low-level programming languages. In C and C++, if you want to define a variable, you have to specify the data type. You have to start with, okay, this is integer, this is a character, this is this, before you start. But Python, you just define the variable, and Python automatically decide or automatically know what data type it is. But it is possible for us to really cast a variable to a particular data type. For instance, we know that X.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The list in the tuple, I know I can see the syntax difference, but what is the difference?
Yeah, so this is a very, we're going to talk about this in data structures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have more data structures. This is where we're going to go deep into what can you do with like list? Why do we need a tuple? Why do we need a set and stuff like that? So
Great.
it's the difference is in the kind of values you can store in them and how you can modify those values, right? So for instance, list and tuples and sets, if you look at it, sets too, they are almost the same type, but the only difference is, look at this, Naheem. For list, we use square bracket. For this, we use open bracket of this, and we use curly bracket for set. But they are like used to store like list of values. But what is the difference? So we are going to talk about this when we get to the structures. It's going to be different, right? So what I was saying is that if X is an integer, normally, if we write like this, X is an integer, right? But we can cast this value to be a string by putting str. we can pass it to be a string. So if we print this now, we can see now X is a string. So that takes us to the next, which is like, let's look at each of these fundamental data types and start thinking about what do they look like? What can we do with them? So like we have seen before, strings are surrounded by either single quotation mark or double quotation mark. And multi-line strings can be created using triple quotes, right? Triple quotes that we showed earlier. So strings is like a list of characters. It's like a collection of characters. So many of the operations that we do on, list or something like that, we could use them on string also. For instance, we defined name earlier to be Nahim. We can find the length of Nahim. That would count the characters that made up that variable, right? So Nahim is like 6 characters. So we can index a string. We're going to see more indexing when we get to lists and all that. We can index a string, which is like to get values from it. And to do that, we call the name, the variable name, and we use square brackets and put the position number. Let's say I want to get the first character. I just put name, in 0, and it returns the first character.
Oh, I see. Okay.
We can also start indexing from the end. Instead of starting from the beginning, we can start from the end, from the other end. So to do that, we use minus. So the last is going to be -1, because it's in Nahim. The one after the last, that means it starts, going from the right instead of going from the left like this. So to do this, we do put -2, and that is E.
Yeah. Got it.
So so this is indexing. Indexing is just like selecting one value from it. We can also slice. We can slice the elements of the list. So slicing is like we're taking some section out from the list of characters. So for instance, let's say we want to take from position 0 to position 3. Oops. So we just put the name. Now, inside the square bracket, we are going to put the beginning indexing and the end of indexing. But remember that Python is zero-based indexing. And also, when we are doing this, we don't consider the last. So this one we go from 0, 1, 2. Then the last position here is not going to be considered. So you can see 0 is N, 1 is A, and 2 is H. So this printed now. We can also do this without 0 actually, because if we leave it empty, if we leave the beginning of indexing empty, Python will automatically take it to be 0 or beginning. So this will still return the same thing. And also the same thing happens if we leave the end empty. Python will start from whatever we put here. Let's say we put 2. And it interprets that as start from 2 and go to the end of the string. So you can see it goes HE. So this is the indexing, slicing of string, and it also applies to list, which we are going to see in detail later. So if we try to index where there is no value, let's say we know that the length of Naim is 6. Let's say name, we now want to take values at 8. We are going to get index error. So, understanding most of these errors and the cause is very useful to debug when you have a code, when you have an issue. For instance, when you have a list and you get index error, you know that, oh, maybe I'm going out of the range of my list or something like that. So this is the cause, there are so many methods on lists, I mean on strings. So here, although I'm still going to talk more about it when we get to OOP, object-oriented programming.
Okay.
So method is like a function that is binded to a particular data type. So now we talk about string. So we have functions that are binded to string objects. But also we have functions that are just inbuilt generally in Python. They are not binded to any object, although they may have the particular object or data type that they take. Let me say, for instance, let me use this example. Len. This is a function. This is a function, and it takes a parameter, which is the object. You can say name. So it returns 6. This len function can also take, let's say, let me create a list here. Names now equals Naim Gerard. This is a list of names. Now we can use this len on names also. It returns the length of the list. Now, what I'm trying to show here
of the list. Okay.
Yeah, what I'm trying to show here is that the len is a function in Python. It can take a string or it can take a list. However, when we talk about methods are also functions, but they are binded to an object or to a data types or to an instance. For instance, let's say we have our name as Naim. Do we still have the name as Naim? Naim, yes. Now, if I want to call a method now, I will use dot upper. Now, this upper is a method, is a string method. What it means is that it's a function, but it is binded to a particular data type. So this is I just want to start showing you the difference between a function, a general function that could take different data types, and a method that belongs to a particular data type. So the way you call a method is that you use dot and the method name with brackets on that. So here, if you call this, what this does is that it returns the string in uppercase. Naim. What do you think will happen if let me see, do I still have my age as
16?
No, I want to check the type.
Oh, type is an int.
It's an int. Now, what do you think oh no, sorry, type age int. Okay, good. What do you think will happen if I call upper on this?
I would, yeah, yeah.
So you say that int object has no attribute upper. I mean,
that's really helpful. Yeah, that's very helpful. Yeah.
You get what you see the difference between a method. So a
Mhm.
method is really binded to a particular data type.
Mhm.
So we are still going to see more of this when we get to object-oriented programming. So I'm just going to delete this and this. Okay. So we can change this to uppercase, return it to lowercase. We can use stripe to remove like white spaces from the beginning or the end of a string. This is very useful when you like you have a kind of variable name, this stuff, stripe and replace, and you want to rename them. Like you have a file and there are a lot of them and you want to iterate over them and replace. So you just like, let's say for instance, let's say replace now. Let's assume that we have a name called file name. File name is let's say final projects, final projects dot docs, or let's say the final project. This is how they. So let's say we have every of our file with file dash this, and we want to replace. So maybe we realize that no, we didn't name it well. So we want to replace dash with underscore. So what we just do is file name dot replace. So file name. So what we do is, what value do we want to replace? This one takes two parameters. The value we want to replace is the dash. And what do we want to replace it with? We want to replace with underscore.
Underscore, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So let's print that. So you can see now we now have final underscore project docs.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is very useful when you have. I remember I work on one task. It's like a lot of image files. So the way they name it, they put I think asterisk or something, some weird character in the file, and I have about 1,000 of them. And I was like, how do I do this? It's just for me to like, I wrote a function that just like take all the file in a folder and then replace the underscore the character with something I want, with something else. So so these are a lot of operations that we can, or method that we can call on string. You can check that link for more string methods. Yeah.
So a method, once again, a method is specific to the file type.
To the data type.
To the data type, thank you.
Yeah,
so
type. And the data types are like string, integer, and all that. So it is specific to the data type. We're going to see all these things when we get to object-oriented programming. There are a lot of buzzwords in OOP that it's difficult for people to learn at beginning, but I will try as much as possible to make it very simple. You know, like what is the difference between, you know, instances and objects and classes and, you know, all these stuffs. Right. So that's that. So function, for instance, is just like can take, like for instance, we have been using this print now is a function So it can take any data type. You can put integer, you can put string, you can put list and all that, and it's going to play it. But and this is one of the discussions that Dr. Ekstrand was talking about, I think in about some classes ago, about how do you decide if you want to make a particular module to be a function or to be a method. The factor is that, is it going to be a generalized function? Is it something that you want any data type to come in and use it? So in that case, for instance, print now is we want to print integer, we want to print string, we want to print different data types. So it doesn't make sense to make it a method of a particular data type. So it's better to make it a function. But imagine we make print to be a method of a string function. So that means only string data type can use print. But upper, for instance, when we say upper, we want to change the case to like upper cases. It doesn't make sense to make it a general function because integer does not need to be like, there's nothing like upper for integer. There's nothing like upper for Boolean. There's nothing like upper for like, stuff like that. So this is like the considerations that go into deciding, okay, this is a method, this is a function. But most times method are like, you call a method to do a task on a particular data type.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does for now. Okay.
All right. So this is just a very quick peep into list. So we talk about string, and then I think I intentionally skip numeric data type because they are we see them age, and there's not much operations to do with them except like we want to change from string. We want to change from one. So I will go back to this. We say numeric types. Okay.
So with the age being what it is, being an integer, and you can multiply that by 3, but age is a string. So can you convert your string? How do you multiply the 2, the integer, the 3 by the age? Or is it just not possible?
Sorry, you said age is a string. Did you say that? Age is a string?
I'm sorry. I guess age is an integer. It's defined as an integer. Sorry. Okay.
So
I see.
Age, remember, age is storing value of 16, I think.
Yes, and so it's an integer.
It's an integer. Let's see. It's 16. The value is 16, so it's an integer. You can put in the type.
Age is not defined.
Type. So it's an integer. So what I'm trying to show here is that the result of arithmetic operations that we do on data types will differ based on the different data types. For instance, age is an integer. So if we multiply by 3, we'll get what we expect, multiplication of 16 by 3. But name is a string, it's storing Nahim. So if we multiply it by 3, what are we going to get? It's going to perform an operation, but it's not going to be like, like it's going to be a repetition of that string. So let's see.
So it's just going to be name.
Yeah, okay, so it does Nahim.
I was looking at the error and I was getting confused because it seemed to me like it wasn't working, and I started thinking about it. I was like, I think that should work. And okay, so it worked.
Okay, yeah, it worked actually. What happened was that I think it was the way I arranged
Okay.
my code, because I think I ran this cell before I ran the cells above. So, but
Gotcha.
now the error it was giving me before is that you call name, but name is not defined. So what do you want me to do?
I
It's just
see.
like,
I see.
key error, so I mean value error rather.
Right.
So
Okay.
this makes sense, right?
That
If
that
you
that that
had
clears it up.
okay,
That's clear. Yeah. Okay. Great.
okay. Can we do list real quick?
Uh-huh.
Okay, now let's go to list. So this is one of the common data types for storing group of items. It can contain different types, but usually the item all have the same type. So we can make this to be names, Naheem, Gerard, and age 1641, 23. And then if we like show what's his name, you can see Naheem, Gerard, and so like strings, list can be indexed. We can index a list, see names, get the first name. Let's say names, understand name.
Okay.
We can concatenate list. So what will happen if we had name to Naheem? What do you think will happen? I mean, if we
Uh,
had names and ages.
uh, we would get two separate. It would just all be in order. It'd be all the names and then all the ages, I think.
Exactly. So it will just had
Okay.
put all the values in one.
Okay.
So this is for this. Lists are mutable type. What the difference between, I think I should mention here that we can change, like for instance, let's say that oh, Han is not someone that we want in our group. Let's change that. That will be 2, and let's make it to be Deep is in our group. Yeah. And then now if we say we change that.
Oh, names 2 equals deep T. Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
we just
Okay. So,
assign that.
so what was the other function we used to change or replace? Did we use the replace function before
So
instead of that one?
yeah, so but replace is a method on string, is a method on string, Remember,
Not a list.
not a
Okay.
list exactly. So
Okay. Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So to change a value of a list, we just have to put, it's just like we are assigning that, okay, go to names and look at index 2 and give it this value instead of
Okay.
what it has before.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, interesting. By using the append method. Okay.
Now we can also use
Right.
append. Append is like add a new member to the list. So you can say names dot append. Now I want to append, let's say we want to append and back. We change it. Okay, let's look at name. You see what happened here was that I appended the first time and then I run it the second time. If I run it the third time, it will append
It
again.
will keep
It will
going.
keep
It'll keep
appending,
going. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
So yeah, you see, this thing happened a couple of times in class when I run a function and I get an error. And I say that I think it happened a couple of times. I say, oh, I know what happened. Then I go back and run again. This is what happened. So it changed the first run, it changed the context or of the data, like pandas. Now, if you replace, for instance, let's say you use np.where, and you replace all values with 1. And then you now write the next command that anywhere value equals to 0, but you said you replace earlier, so you have to go and run again. Anyways, the point is that it's something you should look out for at times, because when you run this, like, wait, I just append 1 time, but you don't know you have run this thing 3 times. Like, if I didn't print this thing now, and I run it another time, and I run it another time, and then I now print now names. And I see a lot of, and I'm like, wait, I want this thing just one. What is going on? You get what I'm trying to say?
I do. And that's with the append, right? Yeah, in particular, that's with the append, obviously.
Yeah, so there
So,
are
but
some,
when you're building a data frame, though, you have to be really careful how many times you're running it,
exactly,
because then you're just going to keep getting
exactly,
duplicates.
exactly.
Okay.
But I think for pandas, I think what they do was that if you, I think, no, when we get to pandas, we're going to see how all of this thing um play into or connect with one another. We saw how
Before
to
we
use.
before we end tonight, I had a question about these exercises. And then how, because this looks like a really neat, this is a really cool website. And I was thinking about going through some of these tutorials. How far do you think I should go on this?
So if you look at I'm going to share this. Let me quickly, where's my browser? Yeah, so I'm using exercises from W3 schools. And if
Okay.
you look at the tutorials, this is a very good platform actually. So Python, you realize that it follows almost like I use this thing when I'm preparing content for Python a lot. Like I
Oh,
I I put my content, but then I use it because I just find it very easy. They build it up. So what I'm trying to say to answer your question is that we'll be touching almost all the content here. We will, maybe we'll not be doing file handling, but we'll be touching almost all from this um to okay, I think we have done string formatting. So now we are here. So I would say that, go into this as much as possible, as much as you can, and then we would explore most of it. This is a very good content for learning Python. I mean, not just Python, for learning, you can see web development, machine learning, software development, stuff like that. So yeah, and it has exercises. It's a very good resource for you.
it's a great resource. Yeah, that's really neat. Okay. And so then, okay, so I'll work on that, because I like how we're going through and how you're taking the time to explain it to me. And because I've got little questions along the way, but it's definitely, it makes more sense.
Yeah, so if you have questions, let's talk about, like, as you have questions while I'm talking, just
Mhm.
bring it out. Let's talk about it. And that's the best way to make it more interesting.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think we exhausted the 1 hour 30 minutes. So I think we talked about list. We talked about list. So what you can do is, what else have I not talked about for list? Okay, yeah, len is used to find the length of the number of values in the list.
Mhm. Mhm.
We can check if an item exists in a list. For instance, we know that there is Nahim, there is Gerard. You can say, is Charles in names. So this is false. This is, but I will say it's Naheem. We know Naheem is there. It's Naheem in names. This is true. This is also applicable to string. We have Naheem. You know, remember name without s is Naheem. It's just a string. You can check if we have a particular character is sorry, you can say that Z in name false. There is no Z there. There's no Z. N in name, that is true. So
okay, I see.
so many things we can do, so many stuff we can do. The next thing I think we should talk about is we will talk about how do we iterate over, you know, our list and perform operation and, you know, do this. We are going to talk about when we get to the loop statements. Yeah. So I just save this one because this is under loop, right? So a lot of times, some content they like bind it together with each data type. I felt like the best way is to, like, you know, do it when we get to the loop and we start looking at how do we use for loop and while loop and how do we combine it with iterables like list and strings, and then build a list comprehension and stuff like that. So yeah, we're going to continue from here. We will pick up from, so in the meantime, you can try these exercises with data type, text your knowledge with strings, and text your knowledge with lists. Okay. So next,
let me go to that.
We are going to start with conditions.
Okay, so let me go to that. Where's my VS Code? There it is. Okay. I'm going to go to VS Code and then test your knowledge. Where am I at? Right there. Okay, great. Test your knowledge with data types. And that takes me to W3. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Jared. It's a nice 1 hour 30 minutes with you.
We're going to pick up thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Can we go through a couple of these exercises before we close tonight?
Yeah, sure, we can. I'll make you share your screen and then stop sharing.
Great. Just to make sure I'm on the right track. And great. So the following code example would print. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The following code example would print the data type of X. What data type would that be? Print type X, it would be an int, right? I guess that's all that is.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I see. For some reason I thought it was different. And then that'd be string. Okay. All right. Got it. And then this would be it's not int, it's the other one, but I can look back at that list.
Yeah, so yeah, that should be a float. It's a float. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it's a float. And float is anything with percentages of float, is that right?
So floats are like values that have fractional parts in terms of 20.555. So those dots, those ones are fractional parts, right? So they are used to like store values with very high precisions. You want to like not just 20, there are some values that are still like, you know, decimal point and all that. So those are floats. And a lot of times, some operations, for instance, we return a float. For instance, if we had 2 and 5, the result we get is going to be 7, and that result is an integer. But if we divide 8 by 2, it returns a float, even though the result is 4. But division
Oh,
returns
interesting.
float. So if you look at the initial, like about the beginning of the notebook cells,
Uh-huh.
I printed, yeah, under arithmetic operations. Yeah, I printed 8. Print 8 divided by 2. But you see the result is 4.0. You could have printed 4, right? But it printed 4.0. So this is a float. So that is a Python way of handling division. But if we want to print the integer
And then
of this,
multiplication's probably the same.
multiplication print integer. You can try print.
Okay. Oh, it doesn't like what I'm doing. IPY. I thought I had that. Okay, I'll install that. Anyway, yeah, so I wonder if it's going to be, 16.0. Anyway, okay, cool. I'm going to work through it, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, so we're going to meet tomorrow. I mean, on Wednesday.
Okay.
All right. Have a nice night, and my regards to your family.
Sounds good. See you in class.
Yeah.